Shut it, Nappa.
Hello everyone, Skippy here, and welcome to One Piece episode 1006. Directed by Ryosuke Tanaka from his and Tatsuya Nagamine's board and supervised by Kazuya Hisada. With the next full episode from one of the most talented assistant directors on the show and his debut as a storyboard artist at that, it's no surprise why 1006 looks so damn polished and we haven't even seen everything that it has to offer. As the addition of Nagamine on the board side of things will surely make whatever his part ends up being stand out, alongside Tanaka's dynamic and three-dimensional board that so far looks great and quite ambitious for the series. With the promise of more cool cuts other than what we've seen in the preview that will surely stand firmly next to Tanaka's meticulous direction, will episode 1006 be as solid as his preview is making it out to be considering the staff? Let's see Chopper's anger and find out. This episode covers the 4 pages of Yamato and Momonosuke content in chapter 993 not covered last episode, and the first 7.5 pages of chapter 994, and while that might be an immediate red flag, it surprisingly works well with not a whole lot of filler. While there is some rearranging to place the Yamato stuff first and foremost and the Ice Oni stuff before the Kaido and Scabbards content that's saved for the end, the episode still feels pretty well focused even when covering a little bit of content, and I think that works well here for moments that weren't really allowed to breathe here in the manga, specifically stuff like the Ice Oni that feels like a barrage of chaos in the manga, but here uses the canon content to build up to the chaos that it jumps to in several parts of the chapter, like actually showing one of the Yakuza bosses getting infected by it while fighting instead of just showing him helpless immediately, making it not feel as overwhelming to the viewer initially. Combine that with some good additional scenes in the first half of the episode that makes Shinobu look better as a fighter and portrays Momonosuke as more confident when thinking about if a Shogun would really run away by actually taking off instead of staying put, this episode is a pretty damn good example of how to make things feel better and less overwhelming in a crowded manga arc by allowing even the smallest of things their time to breathe, while still doing the content at hand justice through fitting OST placement and voice direction that itself even allows things to be more quiet and ambient at points. And that doesn't even take into account the storyboard side of things either that really makes up this episode's skeleton. Ryosuke Tanaka had always been one of the more surprising assistant turned episode directors because of how particular he is with his direction and how he never settles for less. And that's something that absolutely shines through here in his storyboard debut. As throughout the episode there's never a dull moment when it comes to scale and just basic composition by packing everything with the most imaginative and cool angles that treat the inside of Onigashima like it's supposed to be while providing something striking to look at. Which does right by the action in the A part of the episode and makes it some of the coolest and most dynamic action scene in the series thus far, while also making it this episode's overall MO because the episode just manages to look pretty in almost every instance through this really well-rounded board that doesn't at all feel flat or boring. And even when we switch over to what is presumably Nagamine's half of the board in its final closing moments, Tanaka really makes it feel like his own by using that same eye and crafting his board for executing it, by nailing the timing, making sure difficult tracking shots are done well, and adding some compositing flare with lens flares and the like during the beautiful red moon moment at the very end of it all. It's all just absolutely polished in every sense of the word and feels so well executed to the point that there's really no nooks or crannies where things show a more ugly side. And I think that speaks to just how bright of a talent Tanaka really is and how he can make it almost feel effortless with what he's able to accomplish. And I hope that this won't be his last board on this series whatsoever. While you can definitely feel Kazuya Hisada's presence in this episode, there's a lot of artistic voices that come out more than just his own. And that's not just because of Maedong Eiga's Hizawa being an assistant animation supervisor, but there's a lot of talent ripped from not only foreign countries like France, but also within Japan itself, that range from a wonderful display of background animation, impact frames, and explosions from French animator Dorian Coulon to 957 alumni Ko Horio, who makes his return here, that help pepper this episode with a pretty surprising amount of movement that does Tanaka's well-polished board and even Nagamine's part absolute justice when bringing them to the screen. By bringing a lot more modern and idiosyncratic digital animation to the table that fits like a glove with the rest of the episode's offerings, effectively helping 1006 reach a level of quality that not even I was expecting. Of course I was expecting a really solid episode because of Tanaka's sheer talent and everything that he had surrounding him as well, but they took what was by no means an important chapter and made it one of Onigashima's most well-made episodes, and one that shows once again how nurturing young talent can really truly go a long way. While next week's episode 1007 is pretty much the antithesis of that on paper with veteran staff members Katsumi Tokoro and Kenshi Yokoyama, it doesn't really look bad at all. I'm definitely not going to get my hopes up because it's likely to be a bit more on the conservative side of things animation wise, but from what we can see, everything in the preview looks pretty solid regardless when it comes to art and most other things, so hopefully it'll be a fun time following this unlikely gift of an episode. Anyways guys, that's it for now. I'm Skippy, and man, is Hamlet's voice incredibly deep.